My name is Steffi Puerto. I'm originally from East Oakland, California, and I am a student here at Cal Poly Humboldt. I have many roles on campus. The reason that I chose Cal Poly Humboldt as a university was because when I was looking for schools, I don't know, the school just kind of stood out to me. I wanted to be somewhere different than where I grew up. I've been here for entering 4 years, and honestly, it's been good and bad. I feel like this place is really beautiful and it has a lot of things that makes it unique, but it also has a dark side. Like nothing is perfect, and I feel like I like this place because of its natural beauty and of the people that I've been able to meet and the relationships that I've been able to create and the education I've been able to obtain. But I don't like certain parts about how I feel as a person when I'm navigating through space outside of campus, or when I just need to be myself and not a student. The university embodies whiteness by being not being self-aware enough. I feel like the university, they promote this idea of diversity and inclusion and unity, but when you step foot on the campus, those images are only images and they don't apply to the real life scenario or experience of living on campus. I remember when I was a freshman, I had a really hard time making friends and getting to know people because I felt like the university was it's a white entity, so it's very individualistic. There's no really sense of community unless you kind of find it for yourself, and I feel like that's a lot of the reasons why students leave, because they don't feel connected, they don't feel represented, and they don't feel heard from their administration or the people in charge of them. So I feel like the university embodies whiteness by adapting to this Western standard of education and thinking and living, where it's solely based on individual perspective and not community and collectiveness. And I feel like this is dangerous because as students of color, we grow up with this, idea of unity for most of us, and not having that really does affect our mental health, and it affects every other aspect of us. If we don't feel like we have a community, then it might make us feel alone. First of all, like I said, having a collective community of students being able to come together and staff alike, where we can have honest conversations with one another, and it can just be about what is working for our administration and what is not working, and how can we as a collective work together to fund better stuff into our schools, like mental health, counselors of color, more professors of color. What is going to make students of color feel more represented and feel like they're a part of this community? I would imagine the university as a place without whiteness as an entity. I guess it would be to support the CRGS department and allow more CRGS classes to be intertwined within different departments. For instance, in STEM, although STEM is in the sciences, there is a lot of contributions from the Native American people and the Native American communities up here, and the land that is being used that can be interwoven with ethnic studies and NAS. There's also classes like danza and folklorico that are being offered on the Cal Poly Humboldt campus, which fall under theater arts but should be intertwined with ethnic studies, because those are people's culture, those are people's stories, those are people's experiences, those are people's cultural practices, and you can't teach one without the other. The university should allocate more funds and more representation of this department, because it is helping students be more aware of the culturally diverse country and people that are around us.
My name is Abraham Navarro, and I'm from Los Angeles, California, but I moved to Humboldt in 2020 to come to Cal Poly Humboldt. I chose to come here to study journalism, but primarily my decision was based off of the nature and the beauty that I saw. The school promoted itself with more of an environmental and I would say progressive tilt, which is, contradictory to the surrounding area and the actual attitude of the administration. So now being here, my perspective has shifted greatly. I do appreciate the nature and it is a really beautiful place. However, it's a white dominated area, and as a person of color, I've kind of learned what it means exactly to be a person of color in this country. There's a lot of history of oppression and there's aggressions that happen happen from white people in the community towards us, if you never grew up around that, it can really affect you. And it's something that I've seen affect my friends, and it's affected me in different ways. And it makes you feel unsafe in the community. To move 700 plus miles away from home to somewhere that's foreign and strange with people who treat me foreign and strange is a harmful environment to grow up in, but it strengthened me. Like I said, it's showed me what exactly it means to be particularly Chicano. No soy de aquí ni de allá. I was born in Baldwin Park. My parents come from Mexico. It's difficult to try and fit in. Growing up in elementary school in LA, I had students that were the same color as me. I had teachers that looked like me, that spoke Spanish, that sounded like my tias, and there's something about that, seeing the people that are in charge look like you, that really empowers you, but it's not something you see up here. All my professors are white, and it's difficult to connect with them. That lack of representation does make me feel frustrated. Lack of representation is a really harmful thing, where people were mentioning what it means to not be seeing professors of color as a person of color, and it hit me that I'm in the same boat as these students, because I don't have very many colored professors that are brown like me, and it's harmful because I can't identify with the person that's trying to teach me, and there's an air of danger because I can't act like myself when I'm around them. These people are people in authority, and historically this system has not chosen people like me just for the mere way we look, the color of our skin. I'm also angry at the way that people of color aren't listened to and are tokenized on this campus, aren't appreciated, aren't valued. Pay for us to be here, pay for us to be teaching your classes, pay for us to be healing the students that are already broken here, because the system does so much to tear us down. The school has money and builds up all of these institutions with that money. Put that money into the brown people here, because we deserve it. We've gone through enough shit. I imagine an institution without hate or greed is is one where everybody is given the same opportunity without putting further behind in society for it. I don't want to have to be put in debt for the education that I'm getting. It's a lot to think about, because I'm already struggling to get this degree. Now after this degree, I'm gonna have to struggle to pay for it. It's not okay. We should be able to be taught how to survive in our society. This is a good institution, but it needs to be reformulated without the greed, without wanting to profit off of us. It does a lot to us, and it does a lot to not just us, but the future generation. We need to be thinking, I've heard 7 generations ahead from some of my teachers, that's how far we need to be thinking, and we need to do the work to make sure that not even just 7 generations, our next generation, our little brothers and sisters, our siblings need to be, the world needs to be changed for them. We're a new generation of love and freedom. We're a healing generation. And I have faith that this institution will one day be without that greed and colonialism and whiteness that we see.
My name is Katí Zamora, she, her. I am from Escondido, California. I am a social work major, and I came up to Humboldt because I came up here with some of my best friends, and they had a social work program. Before I came here, I was really excited. I've always wanted to go to a 4-year university. I always saw myself having that college life experience of living in the dorms, moving away from home. I remember that I was in an AVID class, which is for students that are interested in going into a higher education. And Humboldt recruiter actually came into her class and showed us these beautiful photos of the redwoods. And I just remember being I want to go there. For sure, my whole view on the higher education system, institutions such as, Cal States and UC schools have completely changed. I have realized that these are institutions that honestly, they want our money. They are not here to give us that critical thinking skills, although there's many professors here that I've met that have provided that for me. But I believe that the institution itself does not want me to be critically thinking at all. As a Chicana here, I feel more Chicana here because I go to the store and I don't see that many people that look like me, and I feel whoa, different when I'm here. Whereas back home in Escondido, I grew up with so many Chicanos and I never felt different, but until I got here into this higher education system, I really did see how I am different. And not in a negative way, but I did notice that there's a big white population here in Humboldt County. On this campus, and honestly in this city, first it was really hard to find that community, especially after the pandemic where everything transitioned online. And honestly, I only had my best friends that I was living with. I didn't have that many friends. It was hard to build that community, find people that I can just chill and talk and honestly critically think with them. And there's been a lot that has happened to me up here. I think 2020, my car got stolen.
last year, the freaking cops, for no reason, they assumed I was doing something wrong and wasn't me at all. But because of the color of my skin, they really assumed that I was someone that was potentially about to shoot up a school. And it felt horrible to be stopped by the police here because, you know, in that moment, I really felt alone. I felt like no one was able to like understand me. And I really felt criminalized in that moment. It was really scary. I hate seeing the lack of Black, brown, Indigenous professors and staff, and honestly students too. When I see brown, Black, and Indigenous folks, I'm like, hell yes, thank God, you know. And when I'm in these spaces with white professors, literally like my blood is boiling. Sometimes I think about how if you don't have something nice to say, then don't speak up. And sometimes I just stay quiet. But other times I literally can't, and I just want to scream or I just want to say something. And unfortunately, my emotions do kind of take a control of me in these classrooms, but that's because of everything that I've been learning. Everything I've been learning has taught me that they don't want us in these spaces. There's been policies that literally make it illegal to teach African studies, Chicano studies. It's happening right now. So when I see a white professor up there and they're not talking about the real history and continuing to just pretend like nothing is really happening, then I get so mad and I literally can't handle it sometimes. I think about how this school is on Wiyot land. I also think about I was in the food sovereignty lab class with Madalena Dusek, and I remember her saying how the school does not keep track of all the pesticides on our campus. They have never kept track. So like I look at the trees and I look at all the plants and I'm like, they were literally forced here to be here and they've been sprayed with pesticides. I think about how Madalena Dusek also says our forests are so, can't even walk through them, and that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be tended by the first original people and they know how to care for the land. And I also think about Jolly Giant the creek that used to have salmon in it. So I honestly really do think about the Indigenous people that were here before, and I think about how much it's been changed just to cater the institution. And I have anger, and I think a lot of people have anger because people are very silent or decide to like stay silent or decide to ignore the real history. And I think in order to move forward instead of hate or greed, then we gotta practice healing. And I think not just healing for ourselves, but healing as a community, healing the land as well. If the land is unhealthy, then we're gonna be unhealthy. And if we don't have the resources to heal, we don't have, you know, BIPOC counselors on our campus, psychiatrists, then how are we supposed to practice self-care, practice healthy habits and healthy risk-taking, especially when people on this campus don't look like us and don't support us? Because, you know, we have John Lee, who's literally a freaking predator. We have, you know, there was that other white teacher that I remember that screamed at our friend. I think about how those professors and these people, and I've had some professors that told me like, nah, you're not ready for the master's program. I think about how I'm not comfortable talking to these people, then I don't feel supported sometimes on the campus from the staff. So think about that a lot.